this for an entirely different purpose, okay? And that's what Colossians is warning us about, is that when we're born again, we need to rule over all this input. Rule over all of it, okay? And not allow it to rule over us, okay? What grows out here, right? Grapes. Yummy, right? Let's ferment them and get drunk, all right? So the concept is that we're using corporeal means, you know, as a quest to satisfy sensual desires. And so Colossians 2 says, merely cutting that out, so to speak, become the Mr. Doldrums, boring, does nothing, sits in a room and vegetates, so there's no input to drive their sensuality. Well, that person will certainly become good. Well, the word says, no, they won't. Okay? Colossians 2 says that here. If you start in verse 21, we didn't even read 18 on. Spend time in Colossians. Read the whole word. It's rift with information, okay? 21 of Colossians 2. Do not handle. Do not taste. Do not touch. Okay? Those are spiritual commands. Okay? You following me? Do not handle is a concept. It's a command. It's a spiritual entity. It is about our sensibilities picking up these objects, these things, and saying the mind is giving out instructions. Don't handle them. Don't eat them. Okay? Whenever you read the word, remember it's a portal. It's merely a window to see the spiritual realm, to see the King, God, to see the Creator, the offering of Christ, the sins of man. I mean, it's a portal. It's not just a. If you read a lot of novels, then you're not going to be good at reading the Word, because the novels made you a victim, and the Word set you free. It is a massive difference. Okay, so here in our freedom, we are being told, do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. These are all destined to perish with use, because they are based on human commands and teachings. Such regulations indeed have an appearance of wisdom, with their self-imposed worship, their false humility, and their harsh treatments of the body. But they lack any value in restraining sensual indulgence. Okay? This activity will not keep you from indulging sensually and sinning. It won't help you control it. Locking up the alcohol isn't going to change that kid's desire to have the thing that makes, daddy feel better. It's not going to change that. I mean, we do so many things in life because we're under misguided teaching. And the demons keep us in this loop of time wasting. They hold us there. And that's what we're looking at, is what do they do? How do they do that? Well, if they're involved in communicating with other demons that are either using people to supply this or writing books about keeping it away, demons are interacting and working together to provide input to our sensibilities to manage our sensual desires. So there is a lot of activity that we're not aware of, and that's what we're trying to do today, is get an awareness of them, their activity, what they do, how they work. So let's look then at rats. Okay, do you have this? I'm out of board. You guys have all this down? You get it? Good. Because we have a lot more to look at. And we're not going to spend a lot of time today because time is not our friend. You guys really have to actually do the math. You have to actually look in your mind and see the input from your sensibilities and realize and get a handle on your concepts. You have to get a hold of your spiritual person and see this stuff happening in you that the Word is leading us to. So anyways, we looked at this we've looked at this many times, this drawing of, okay, so we're not going to go past the mind right now. We're not going to go before the heart, but there are lots of, there's lots of solicitation here in our heart, attempting to feed us what we want, what we're looking for and searching for, that's observed in our behavior. So there's a whole bunch of things that go on past both of those. But what we really need to focus on today is Matthew's account about that pathway. We're going to take a harder look at that pathway deal. Matthew 13, okay? And we're going to look at very carefully at the words. All right. Verse 18 says, "Listen then," okay? Just the terms "listen then," all right? Christ talks a little bit about them in preceding verses. Verse 15, and he is talking about the capacity, what gives you the capacity for knowledge, how knowledge comes, how understanding comes. Okay, and so we need to posture ourselves to get that knowledge, to get that understanding. So Christ says, the person, you know, you bend your ear, you go to class, you pay for courses, you go turn on the internet because you're on a quest for information. And so the world is ready to give you that information. You know, schools are chartered and professors are hired and material is written and bots are fed information, and it's like they're waiting for you. They can't, you know, they're so excited, you know, they wet themselves waiting for you to come and put out your sensibilities, your sensors, and pick up this information. Okay? So the thing of it is that what we exchange for the information is we give them our authority. Because what we're doing is we're opening up our ports, our core. We're surrendering our core to their authority on that subject. Okay? Part of the reason why I beg my kids not to send their kids to school, because we're opening up the kids' ports of authority to whatever the teachers want to teach. Okay? So naturally, demons are going to posture themselves at all the opportune places where the authority is surrendered, where it's where you put down your door and you open up to the teaching, and your sensibilities are feeding you and you're searching for the information. So all that activity is going on. But where does their authority end? Where does it start? And that's what this this pathway represents to the demons. Is it's not hallowed ground. Okay, it's not holy, it's not prepared ground, it's not ground seeking God, searching, hoping, sensing evil, hating it, wanting to be cleansed, wanting to have a relationship with the Creator. And it is not ground like that. It's a pathway for, it's a big bird feeder. It's a big bird feeder, Christ says. The birds come and they eat all the seed on the pathway. Who are the birds? The birds are the demons. Okay? So it's just it's a big bird feeder. All right? Because this ground is rejecting the truth. It's a heart that's hardened, that has unbelief, which we learned about in Hebrews, right? Unbelief is hard ground. It's ground that's not receptive to the truth. Okay? So, these are spiritual teachings, right? So you have unbelief, you have a hardened heart, it's a bird feeder. When the truth of the gospel is broadcast to the heart, to a hardened heart, a pathway, it's rejected. I don't believe it. I think it's a bunch of baloney, a bunch of religious idiots. Morality is foolish. You know, it only entraps you. There is no God, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. And so the concept of the seed of Christ dying for your sins, because you're not searching for it, not seeking to be to meet God, seeking Him. He says, anyone who seeks me will find me. Okay? Well, that's not going on here. So what happens is, you're still, if you believe that thing, if you believe that the seed is evil, and you don't want to have anything to do with it, right? What are you going to do? You still have to formulate a plan, don't you? I mean, you have to still process this thought. The thought still needs process, only now it's a rejected thought. You know, like stay home with your parents and live with them and be under their roof and under their power and authority. Heck no, I'm leaving. I'm going to get my own apartment. I'm getting out of here, right? So you're rejecting the concept. You're still going to make plans. You make plans of rejection. I'm leaving this church. A bunch of baloney. I don't believe all this junk. Or, you know. So you still formulate plans, only their plans, their desires at this point that are, it's bunk. I don't believe it. I don't want any part of it. I'm rejecting it. Now there's a later thing that, a conclusion of the heart that's made. In other words, you can change. People change. You know, oh, I don't believe that anymore. Okay? We're not talking about that. We're talking about the concept is broadcast onto the unprepared, hard-hearted pathway and becomes bird food, demonic food. Okay? So now we have demons who know this is going on, and they will begin to work with the pastors who do it and offer them more money or attendance at sports or some other distraction, pretty girls, pretty guys if they're female pastors, right? They're going to work on that end, okay? But on this end, once that thought is rejected and it's a lie and I don't believe it, and so I'm going to leave the church or blah, 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 there's going to be a formula to live out faithfully this belief, this unbelief. Okay? So, as this thought, as this desire to go against God and strike out against the Word is formed, it is sin. Remember, sin happens where? It doesn't have to be done. You don't actually have to kill the person in order. It starts in your heart. It comes out of the heart. It's born in the heart. It's caused in the heart. Okay, so as this thought is moving through our core, it is a dark thought. It's a sinful thought. Okay? And at that point, it becomes rightfully demonic. They are allowed, God permits the handling, the capture, the snatching. It's not light, it's darkness. it's evil. So they are allowed now to handle this property. The birds eat the seed on the pathway. Right? That's what it says, doesn't it? The birds come down and they eat it. Okay, so the snatching away that occurs is the manipulation, okay, and the authority over of evil, things of evil. Sin desire. All right? And so the mind then is ready to look for ways. It gets involved with planning and figuring out a method, looking for and getting feedback for opportunities that are consistent with the sin. Okay? You understand that? Anybody have any problems with that? There's other verses, we didn't put them up here, that we talked about today. In fact, we don't have any verses up there, but we did read them. Matthew 13, actually 15 down through 19, I believe. We talked about Colossians 2, right? (5:28), Colossians 2. You could do all of 2, really. But if you need to practice inserting different ideas here that come from the Word, that are holy, that you reject, and you look at the consequences and what happens, then you can insert truth and have the heart believe it. And then intend to do it, desire it, the inclination to have it. Because remember, when desire happens, there's a